Hi, welcome to Blackcreeksharables. I'm starting a new series, a new education series on Blender, which is a 3D modeling and animation software. It does a little bit more, but I'm going to focus on the modeling first and later the animation aspect of Blender. This is on a high school level, so this is something that you could do on that kind of grade level. This is not an advanced kind of course, but just a high school level kind of course. I am picking it up from after you've downloaded the product. So if you go to blender.org, click on download, you can get the brand new version, the newest release of Blender, install it, and then we'll pick up from there. So I do have my new version of Blender installed, and you get this screen right from the beginning, and it's asking you, do I want to open up something that I've already been working on? Do I want to donate some money as this software is being developed? Do I want to open up a file that is not appearing here? Or do I want to use a different feature? For the 3D modeling, we're just going to hit General. And you'll see three things in the middle of your screen right away. There's a cube, which is the thing that we're going to be working, an object on your screen that we're going to be manipulating and editing and moving and rotating. There's a light, which you can delete if you want to. If you click on the light and hit delete in the middle of your keyboard, you can get rid of that. I'm just going to keep it. And a camera, same thing. We don't need it right now for this tutorial, but we might need the camera somewhere down the road. I'm just interested in, I have this cube, and that's my starting point. But if I click on Add, Mesh, now mesh is anything that's physically able to be seen and worked with. I can add other things on here. There is this monkey, but it gets added in the same spot where the cube is. So if I want to move it to see it, I do need to use a move gizmo. So over here on the left-hand side, there's a four-headed arrow button, which will allow me to move this monkey. I can move it in different directions. I can move it up and down. I can move it along the y-axis and the x-axis. Now I know which axis it is because it gives me this idea here. So I knew it was Y because there's a green identifier here. So if I move it along this direction, it's green. And I know that that's my Y axis. Same thing with this red one, it's relating to this one. So I can move this around. Now there's a circle in the middle that gives me a little bit free movement. So if I click inside the circle, I can kind of move it anywhere I want to, a little bit free range. I don't love that as much. I'd rather pull by the arrows and move it and place it exactly where I want. That's my preference. But I do want you to know that you have this inside circle that allows you to do that as well. So back to Add, Mesh. There's a torus, which looks like a donut. There is a UV sphere, which gives me a round ball. There's the cube, which you automatically have. There's a cylinder. There's a cone. So there's all these different tools here that you can use to make other objects, combine them to make other objects. Here's a plane, which is just kind of like a piece of paper. Use this a lot for walls and flooring. So I want you to know that there are a bunch of tools that you can use. I am going to stay away right now from this grid, and I'm going to stay away from the isosphere. But other than that, I'm going to kind of use all these different objects to make shapes. So we already learned how to move a little bit, but I want you to point out that there's two other gizmos over here as well. So there's the move tool, but underneath that there's a rotate tool. And if I click on that, it allows me to take an object and rotate it along the axes as well. So I can start positioning these things using my rotate tool. So I get these little handles that allow me to rotate. Again, that's this gizmo over here. It's called the rotate gizmo. The outside circle kind of does something similar. It just allows me to rotate the object. There's an inside circle that gives me a little bit more free range again. I can kind of spin it in any direction. Very similar to the move tool, just it's rotation. That's the function of it. And the third one I want to point out in this group of tools is a rescale tool, a resizing tool. So when I click on that, I get a bunch of handles. So I can resize this tool in one direction. I can resize it in another direction. any of the directions, but if I use the circle in the middle, it keeps it proportionally the same size as I grow bigger or smaller. So that we learn the move tool, the rotation tool, and the scale tool. The other things I want to point out on this screen for this lesson is over here on the right, these 3 buttons. So this tool that I already pointed out with your axes before allows me to see under and all around this object. So I can kind of see all the details and where everything is in space. And so I can kind of navigate this gizmo up here to check out different aspects of my viewport. I can also, underneath that is a magnifying glass. If I click on my mouse, the left button on my mouse and hold down, I can zoom in and zoom out. There's also a mouse wheel that I have, but not everybody has, that allows me to zoom in, zoom out. Either way will work. And then there's a hand. If I click and hold down with my mouse, I can move this scene back and forth. The only other thing I think I need to talk about in this lesson is there's this grid. It's imaginary, but it's just a reference point. It kind of lets me know where the ground is or where the bottom is. So if I want to build like a kitchen or something like that, I'm going to put a floor, and I can kind of start setting a plane for the floor and have an idea of where the ground is. I also have the idea of units. There's a better way to set units right now, but if I have something that's 12 inches, maybe I can count this as an inch right now. They're not exactly inches or a measurement right now, but I don't know that we need to know that for this first lesson. So just building some objects and getting familiar, place them. So try stacking some objects. If I have this, can I stack it on top of that cylinder? Try using your rotate tool. Practice using it. The more you use it, the more familiar you get with it. So that's what this lesson is all about. That's just getting a little bit familiar with Blender.